Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is not the undercard, nor is it the sideshow. This is the main event. My name is Ryan Baldwin, joined as always by my right-hand man sitting on my left-hand side, the one and only Mason Shepard.
I'm dying.
We haven't even started yet.
No, we haven't started yet. Listen, guys, I know that this is the main event, but sometimes the mid-card before getting to the main event is hilarious. The mid-card kills me at this point.
Okay, we're not talking about that one. That didn't get recorded, so that was a do-over. Everybody gets a mulligan, okay? That doesn't count.
Woo! How you doing today, Ryan?
Oh man, it's Cowboys Eve. And so much has happened in the past week that I'm actually really excited to talk about it. Because now that we don't do Sports Zone or anything, I've lost my other weekly sports talk stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really excited to talk about everything that happened this week.
So basically, you saying when you got to do Sports Zone, you ain't excited anymore?
No,
you're burying sport. No, I'm just.
It's just that I don't get I got that itch. I'm like, I gotta talk about sports.
There's a cream for that.
There's a cream for everything now, I'm pretty sure. Anyway.
Get into college football.
Yes, because college football exploded over the weekend. First with scores and then with coaches. So let's talk scores first.
Yeah.
As the big game over the weekend was, in fact, Michigan versus the Ohio State. And I believe, as you called it, it was Big Brother slapping Little Brother.
Big Brother
slapping Little Brother.
Not this time. No, it was father, son. And this time, son took the belt away from father and used it on father.
Not today.
I will say this.
No, sir.
Michigan has finally earned they're legit. Because now we'll see where they go from here, because they could have climaxed beating Ohio State and it could go down. But I will say this. They ran all over Ohio State. Their running attack was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we saw from Michigan is they got in their faces. They looked at Ohio State, literally, because there was stuff going on off the field. They looked at Ohio State and said, "Oh, we're going to run over y'all boys today." And that's what they did. And I think for Michigan, that's what they need to do. Now people will take them seriously because they beat Ohio State handily. It wasn't just like they skated by. No, they put up a good amount of points on them. The defense was my takeaway beyond the rushing attack of the offense. The defense played extremely well. They hit Ohio State in the mouth. And I think that was one of the best games I've seen from Michigan. And their quarterback played well. So Michigan, they proved that they're legit.
Yeah. Hassan Haskins, 28 carries for 169 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Oh, my God.
And Blake Corum got 6 carries for 87 yards.
Yeah.
And A.J. Henning had 1 carry for 14 yards. So, yeah, they
rushing attack across the board.
They killed them. And, it was Harbaugh's first win against Ohio State
in
his
entire career. I'm trying to think, how many years has he been there?
A number.
Yeah, because he went 0 and it was 0 and a large. Wasn't it 0 and 8 at some point?
He coached from. He is the Michigan coach from 2015 to present. So this would have been his 6th.
Yeah, so he's been
he
0 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0 and 5. He was 0 and 5, and good for him. But let's see what Michigan does from here. Do they have the confidence to keep knocking teams off, or will Ohio State be like, yeah, we did? And
yep. The next game that was of interest was Alabama having to escape from Auburn with a win in 4 overtimes, which, college overtime.
We talked about it.
Up,
we said,
there are no easy games in the Iron Bowl.
No,
but
it doesn't matter where Auburn is in the season. They will always hit Alabama in the mouth.
It was 10-0 and going into the 4th quarter for Auburn, and Alabama managed to squeeze one out, and then take it to overtime and win there. And Bama fans were sweating for a second because that was about to be a swift exit from the CFP.
Yeah, no, it was. Can you imagine Bama not being able to make it in the CFP? Nick Saban would have an aneurysm.
We'll discuss it in a minute, but it's still not out of the question.
No, it's not.
And then, of course, the Battle of Bedlam.
Woo!
Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma 37-33.
I am an Oklahoma State I mean, not really, but I got to give it to you, Ryan. You called it as far as Oklahoma State would be ranked over Baylor, which I figured that would happen, but I had to see them beat Oklahoma, and they did. They beat them by a slight margin, but hey, if you put the Sooners down and out of the CFP, I don't care how you do it. I'm just glad you do it. So good for Oklahoma State.
So where does this leave us going into the top, let's call it the top 6 for conference championship week? Georgia's still number 1 to the surprise of nobody.
No, exactly.
Michigan jumped up to number 2.
Okay, who's 3 and 4?
3 is Alabama, Cincinnati still number 4, and then Oklahoma State 5, Notre Dame 6.
Honestly, I don't have a problem with that one.
I see. Here was my thinking. I was thinking that the committee would put Alabama as number 2. Now, obviously, I don't think they should be number 2.
No.
I was conspiracy theorist going, they'll put them in number 2, so that way if they lose to Georgia, they're still in the CFP.
Yeah.
That was my thinking, was that they were going to just, yeah, you know what, we'll put you in number 2, so that way if you lose, you're still in. Now, if they lose to Georgia, I don't think they go.
Me neither.
Especially if
they've had too many close calls. They lost to A&M, and no, if they lose to Georgia, I think that puts them out.
I think that does.
And trust me, the committee would be more than happy to move up. But
that would be landmark, really.
No, it would, because it would be Georgia, it would be Michigan, it would be Cincinnati, and then it would be Oklahoma State.
Assuming Oklahoma State beats Baylor in the Big 12. Now, see, because we have a slate of games here.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting.
And it is conference championship week, which means none of these games are really gimmies.
No, and I think this is my favorite time of the year, because none of these games are gimmies, and they shouldn't be.
The picture got clearer, and it also got a little bit fuzzier because we have a very clear top 6.
Yeah.
But those top 5 are going to be 5 of the top 6. Notre Dame isn't going to play in a game this week.
Yeah, no.
Are going to be playing in conference championship games. So Baylor's going to play Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
If Oklahoma State wins that, I think they would jump Cincinnati.
They would.
I think they would jump Cincinnati, even if Cincinnati wins against
I don't
Houston.
know. I take that back, because you know how much the committee loves the undefeated status.
Yes, but having
if they beat
2
Oklahoma
back-to-back
and Baylor,
wins,
I don't know. I would
2
love
back-to-back
to
wins
see
against
that.
top 10 teams
I would
has
love
got
to
to move you
see
up.
that, but I don't know.
So, like, the dream is like Georgia beats. Well, no, the dream is Bama beats Georgia, and Michigan wins, Cincinnati wins, and Oklahoma State wins, because I want to see the mental gymnastics that the CFP is going to have to put together for their top 5. Like, because if Georgia loses to Bama, there's no way Georgia drops out of the top 4, right?
No.
So, if anything, I mean, there's too many hypotheticals to really go through, but the most mind-numbing one would be if Bama beats Georgia, Cincinnati beats Houston, and Michigan beats Iowa, and Oklahoma State wins. So if everybody wins but Georgia, where does everything fall out? Because right now, if Georgia beats Bama, that makes everything easier, assuming everybody else wins, because Bama drops out, and then you just move. Michigan will stay at 2.
Michigan
Cincinnati
will stay at 2.
goes to number
Cincinnati
3.
goes to 3. Oklahoma State goes to 4.
Yeah.
I think, okay, my opinion, if they go, if Bama beats Georgia, then I think, honestly, even that I think would make it easy, because you would still have Georgia, I think, 1, just because that's the first game that they've lost.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, because the people are expected to lose to Bama at some point. And I think if Georgia just loses to Bama, I still think they would have them number 1. Now, that would change if, let's say, for instance, they were like, no, undefeated always is outranking. Then, of course, they would put Cincinnati number 1. But then again,
there's
Cincinnati's
no way.
But that's what I'm saying.
No chance.
Cincinnati's a small school. Look, because that's the thing here. Michigan is lost, and that's why I say Georgia would still be 1. Michigan is lost, Bama has lost, and Oklahoma State is lost. So not putting Cincinnati up there because they're a smaller school would make sense. That would leave Georgia to still be number 1, because they would have only lost 1 game up until that point. Up until this point, they've lost none. Losing to Bama, that's just 1. They'd still be there.
I think if Bama beats Georgia, I think Bama moves up to 1.
See, but Bama doesn't deserve to be 1, in my opinion.
But you beat the number 1 team, and I know they haven't had a great track record. But if they're already number 3 and then you beat number 1, I mean, we saw it with Michigan beating Ohio State. They were number 5, and they just went right up to number 2.
Yeah, I could see that. Don't get me wrong, I can see that easily, and that's probably what would happen. But I just don't think Bama's had that season where they deserve to be number 1. They deserve to be top 3 every year. But I'm just saying they just haven't had that season where they deserve to be number 1. They've had a lot of close calls with teams that are not, Sam Houston State University.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to, we saw what happened with Auburn, who was just like, 5-6 or whatever. Like, we saw what was Auburn. And, they lost to A&M. And, we didn't they barely beat Ole Miss, or did they? I don't know. But, I think it's one of those things where it's like, Georgia has had a better season, and I think the fact that they lost 1 game won't move them off of number 1.
So Bama at the time beat number 14 Miami. They were at the time number 14.
Yeah.
They've narrowly beat out number 11 Florida.
Yeah.
Thrashed number 12 Ole Miss.
Man, okay.
Lost to that. Their one loss at the time was to unranked Texas A&M. They're now ranked, so that takes off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they also beat number 21 at the time, Arkansas. So when you look at it, yeah, they've had some close games, and I'm not saying that they are unequivocally the best team in the country.
Yeah,
but
I know.
If you beat a Georgia team that has been ripping everybody apart, that seems like a fair statement to make. Again,
no, it's a very fair statement to make. I just wouldn't see that because I wouldn't agree with it.
This is just This is kind of like the nightmare scenario for the CFP, right? For the committee, because then just imagine if that scenario plays out where Bama wins and everybody else wins, and you got to sit there and go, okay, well, one of these teams is not going to make it, whether that's Cincinnati or Oklahoma State or Michigan, which if Michigan wins, that they're in, right?
No.
So really it comes down to Cincinnati and Oklahoma State.
I think Michigan's in I think Michigan's locked in. They beat their father at this point.
And if you lose to Iowa, you drop.
Yeah, I know if you lose to Iowa, you drop. But I'm just saying.
But if you win, the fact that they moved him up to number 2 is a really big deal.
That's my point.
Yes, because even if you win narrowly against Iowa, you're already at number 2. There's no way you're dropping to 5.
No. Honestly, they're not going to kick Cincinnati out because Cincinnati and those departments, they would be hooting and hollering, squealing like a pig under a gate if they went undefeated and got kicked out. That's not happening.
So you're gonna if Oklahoma State beats number 9 Baylor in their last game, you're gonna keep them as number 5. Assuming Alabama wins.
See, the thing is, I think what it comes down to is, I think it comes down to television. And this is where we lose more of the sports and we get more into TV networks and how that works, because the SEC runs it at this point, and Georgia's going to be there. Mm-hmm. Bama is going to be there. They're going to drop.
If Bama loses,
they won't. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if they win, they're going to be there. Okay? Mm-hmm. Michigan beat Ohio State. That was huge. If they win, they will be there. When it comes to OU or Oklahoma State or Cincinnati, when it comes to, I really think they would push O State down, because they would know that Cincinnati being undefeated would be a draw for television ratings, even if they have the propensity to get blasted, which they might. They would still be like, they're the undefeated team, and this would be cool for people to see, and they're a small school who's made it this far, blah 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 blah. I think they would snub Oklahoma State personally. I just think they would.
I think that would be one of the biggest snubs.
Oh yeah.
And this is, I hope this lights the fire under all of them to figure out the expanded playoff. Because I don't know that I would necessarily be upset either way with it, because I can see why both should be in there. But this just shows that we need more than 4 teams for the college football playoff, right? Because Cincinnati, their 2 big wins over ranked teams were against, at the time, number 9 Notre Dame, who is now number 6. So fair.
That is fair. Yeah,
But
Notre
the
Dame has stayed ranked, even though they're a little.
Only other ranked team that they will play is Houston this week in the conference championship.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Oklahoma State beat, at the time, number 25 Kansas State.
Yeah.
They've already beaten Baylor once.
Yeah.
21 when they were ranked 21. They beat Texas when they were ranked 25. Sorry.
Yeah.
They beat OU when they were ranked number 10. And they're going up against number 9 Baylor again. If they beat Baylor again at number 9, I know that Cincinnati's undefeated, but the strength of schedule is just not the same.
I know. No,
it's an undefeated team in a much
and
worse
honestly,
conference.
I would love to see if Oklahoma State makes it to this point. That will be my team that I would root for because I would love to see that Big 12 representation. But we all know how the committee is, and we all know it's a popularity contest, and we all know that it's about equally as much as about ratings and television.
I don't know.
We'll see, because there have been teams. I can't remember when it was, but I think Ohio State actually beat out somebody who I think at the time was undefeated, or maybe they weren't undefeated, but they had a better record, and Ohio State beat them out because they are Ohio State.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that works into Oklahoma State's favor, but I don't know. I just see them really wanting to go with Cincinnati because of, it's a team, it's the Cinderella story that has the potential to happen, which would draw major money.
Would that outweigh the Big 12 draw?
Yes, because the reason that outweighs the Big 12 draw is because, one, people disrespect the Big 12 a lot, like we don't know how to play football. Two, it outweighs the Big 12 draw because no one, Ron, let's be realistic. If we grew up our entire lives, we didn't think Cincinnati was a basketball school. We didn't think Cincinnati was a football school. We just knew Cincinnati was a school and barely won at that. And to see them in this position, that would make us really want to see, are they up to snuff? Can they really hang? Could they pull it out? Could we have the Cincinnati Bearcats as national champions? There is no way the CFP is going to pass that up. Even if it's a failure and they get blasted, which we all know they probably will, no one is going to give up the opportunity, as far as like a network and television, no one's giving up the opportunity to have a Cinderella story happen on cable television. There's no way they're giving that up.
I do not envy the position that they're in right now.
No, I don't.
For sure.
I think you relish in it, to be honest. I think you're relishing in it because I wouldn't blame you, because since we've been doing the show, we had talked about how completely stupid, some of their rankings had OU number 3 at some point, which was pathetic, or close to number 3. It was sad. So I'm excited to see where they go from here. Honestly, I'm excited to see what happens. I'll be rooting for Oklahoma State because I would want to see where that would go. And I'm glad Notre Dame's not going to make it in my opinion. They don't deserve it.
Okay. There is a world where they make it in. But that requires Michigan losing, Cincinnati losing, or like at least 2 out of 3 losing, I think. And actually, I think if Michigan wins, or if Michigan loses, and like either Cincinnati or Oklahoma State loses, I think that there's a possibility that Michigan stays.
So Michigan would stay.
If Cincinnati and Oklahoma State lose and Michigan loses, I think they would drop down to 4.
They would.
And Notre Dame would go up to 3.
Yes.
Of course, maybe, the Bama-Georgia game plays a factor. But to say that Notre Dame has no shot, I don't think that's right.
No.
I think it's a very long shot because it requires a lot of teams losing. But
that's basically no shot, Ryan. That is basically no shot.
Crazier things have happened in college football.
No, I mean, I agree with that, but I don't see Cincinnati and Michigan and Oklahoma State losing. I'm not saying they're all going to win either, but all 3 of them losing to get Notre Dame up there, no.
I don't see it either, but none of us saw the absolute shellacking that Michigan put on Ohio State either.
I mean, nobody saw that, but that's the thing.
Maybe Michigan fans saw
but see, Michigan fans, they have to lie to themselves to keep themselves awake at night. But anyway, I think that when we look at Notre Dame, and I guess I wouldn't want them to make it in because I want something different. They've been in this position many times. I want to see these new teams because Bama and Georgia are always going to be in there regardless. But I want to see Michigan in this position. I want to see Cincinnati in this position or Oklahoma State in this position. I don't need Notre Dame going back up in there because then that's 3 out of the 4 teams that usually make it because Notre Dame's been here, Georgia's been here, Bama's been here. I want to see somebody new. So, but, here's what I think will happen. If Michigan loses, I still think they would stay. They would just drop to 4.
Not if Cincinnati and
No.
OSU win,
I'm not going in real specific order, but I'm just saying what I predict is I think Michigan will win because they're coming off this high, and Michigan's about to go to places that they've never been for a while. So I don't see them letting Iowa beat them. I'm not gonna lie, that Cincinnati-Houston game could go either way.
If anybody's losing, I'm predicting it's Oklahoma State with Baylor looking for revenge. I think if I had to pick one of 3 to lose, I think it's that
I can see Baylor wanting to ruin. Now, if Oklahoma State loses, then I think Notre Dame would get brought up. If Oklahoma State loses,
they'd only go as high as 5. Though.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying they would still get brought up at least. So, because that would bring them up, and then depending on when the other games are played, if depending on how those turn out, then we would see what would happen.
I'm so glad we get one more episode next week to talk about all the games before the winter break. So the other shocking developments that happened over the weekend was I guess the NCAA coaching carousel has officially opened up as a number of big names just up and split.
Yeah.
With I think the 2 biggest ones being
Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly.
Yeah, Brian Kelly. So Lincoln Riley, after saying that there was no interest in the LSU job, was like, I said LSU, but I didn't say anything about going to USC. And he just, bam, gone.
Yeah, what happened is, and I've talked about this with many people, there was some stuff that was going on behind the scenes that he's not going to address because he's a professional. But I guarantee you what it was the fact that Oklahoma's made it into the college football playoffs before, and they've been in major bowl games, and they've lost. Mm-hmm. And the academic department got tired of it. They didn't want to deal with that anymore, and they were in his ear. And especially with them losing the Battle of Bedlam, they were probably in his ear. Because this is the thing. You're not going to automatically be like, I'm going to coach at USC if there has been no conversations. That's obviously he's been talking to them. And I think what it is, he just got tired of people in his ear at Oklahoma. He's not going to say that, and he's going to say that he had a good time, which he probably did with the players' perspective. But he probably got tired of upper management telling him that they need to win national championships and win games, even though he's been the most winningest coach in the Big 12 for a while. So I think there was some stuff going on with Oklahoma, and he was like, you know what, I'm out, I'm done, and good for him. Now, USC is not very good. But hey, he's going to be happy there. So good for him.
There's definitely worse places to start over than USC, though. You've got a nice pipeline of recruits.
Yeah.
From California and the surrounding region, and
But he has to be prepared for that because Oregon gets a lot of recruits.
Yeah, but now that you can go, hey, by the way, we have Lincoln Riley.
No, I'm not saying that won't spike recruitment. That would bring USC up because this last year they were 31 nationally. So, no, that will give them a huge spike. I mean, one of Oklahoma's, he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He already just decommitted because Lincoln Riley wasn't going to be there.
OU is in shambles right now. Decommits left and right. I know that. I knew that would make you happy.
Even though the Longhorns are going nowhere but home, it makes me so happy to know that OU is in shambles.
OU is in shambles.
And as far as Brian Kelly going to LSU, being their coach from Notre Dame, I think that for him, because he's been Notre Dame's coach for a while, I think for him it would be his is more of he wants to try a new venture. I think he may have been like, this is maybe as far as I can take Notre Dame, and I've been here for a long time. I want to try somewhere else. And plus, LSU probably offered him a lot more money because I can't see Notre Dame being like, fine, we'll let you go. I think LSU made a very enticing offer.
I think, word on the street is that he had like a list of 6 different things that he took to administration with stuff like facilities upgrades and all this stuff. And they were like, nah. So he was basically just like, okay, well, I'll go somewhere that has the stuff that I want. But
or at least will give it to me when I ask for it.
I was honestly shocked because Lincoln Riley, I get, especially after losing to Oklahoma State, you're done like CFP wise, right?
Yes.
So you're like, okay, I'm going to move on and get started early. Notre Dame is not technically out yet.
No.
And honestly, the one thing that may keep Notre Dame from moving up, I don't know if the CFP looks at it, but the fact that Brian Kelly is not there seems like a big detractor when you're looking at moving up. I know they don't play this week, but if it had to come down to a team without their head coach that got them there or with their head coach that got them there, I'm going to go with the team that still has their head coach.
Yeah, I would see that.
But I was just shocked that, like I said, you're not technically out. But like,
no.
If some of these teams lose,
that's how
you
you know
can
he was
sneak in.
fed up with management. He was like, all right, I'm done.
So the other the other kind of flip-flop, the big rumor for the Notre Dame job coming up, there's a couple of them. The Cincinnati coach, Luke Fickell, is one of the names being brought up as the
He'll
favorite
stay
for
at
Notre
Cincinnati.
Dame.
Cincinnati's about to pay him a ton of money to keep him there.
They better, because if he's looking at that Notre Dame job pretty seriously.
Well, because it's a bigger school with
Sure.
a bigger following. But if Cincinnati, because here's the thing, Oklahoma was looking at Bob Stoops' brother Mark, the Kentucky coach. Kentucky's number 25. But Kentucky locked him down to like a few years extension. So I see Cincinnati doing that because there's no way they're stupid enough to be like, man, this coach got us to an undefeated season. We're just going to forget all of that because we're not going to pay him. I doubt that.
So the other big name that, and he has already kind of denied it, but we know that doesn't mean anything. Urban Meyer has received some buzz, and
no, see, Urban needs to stay somewhere and sit down. Either, because this is my thing, either you're going to be a commentator or either you're going to be an NFL head coach. Do something, but don't do this. I'm going to retire. I'm going to be a head coach in the NFL. I'm going to go back to don't do that. Either sit down somewhere, pick a side, or just stay out of it. Because honestly, I don't see that being a plus for them. Because we've kind of seen how Urban Meyer has handled himself on a professional level when the season started. And it wasn't good. He did not have respect from his players. If Notre Dame is smart, I would keep looking around. And in my opinion, they're looking in the wrong places if they're looking at Cincinnati's coach, knowing that they're probably going to lock him down. I'm telling you, Ryan, there is no way they're not locking him up. If they don't, they're idiots. I know crazier things have happened, but if they don't, they're idiots. And like you said, maybe he'll want to go because he'll be like, man, I want to test my skills at Notre Dame. Maybe he will do that. But Cincinnati would be stupid to let him do that.
The problem is I would have said it would be stupid for Lincoln Riley to leave everything that he's got full control over, everything football related at OU, and he was like, I'm out. Bye.
That's when it's management.
Crazy things have happened.
Management upset him. He was like, all right, I'm done. I'm not doing this with you people. I can't. You're driving me insane. I'm not doing this.
All right. Well, if you had to pick a conference game to watch, a conference championship game to watch this weekend, what are your eyes on this weekend?
My eyes this weekend, obvious. Well, that's actually a tough one.
You got to pick one game to watch because this is all going to be pretty good, but you got to pick one game out of them.
Honestly, the game that I would choose to watch as the biggest one with the most value, man, that is hard. Because originally I was going to be like, oh, yeah, because the two biggest names is Bama, Georgia. But both of them are going to make it anyway, depending on how everything else plays out. I mean, and plus, I don't see them kicking Alabama out unless it's really egregious at this point. But I think I'll still go with Bama, Georgia because, because it's always let's see how Georgia can they thrash Bama. If they can, that'd be interesting. So let's see how that plays out.
That's fair. Give me Oklahoma State versus Baylor. Yes, because Oklahoma State is looking to make a very strong contention for one of those spots, and Baylor's looking for revenge. So the storylines are nice on that one.
Oh, we're talking about storylines now.
I think it's going to be a good game. If I had to pick one game to watch, I'd probably pick that one.
Yeah.
Since you took Georgia Bama, I think that's probably a good one as well.
I mean, I'm going to watch all of them. So
yeah, we're going to watch them all, but that's not the question.
Well, Ryan, sometimes questions are made to be unanswered.
Well, college football. I can't wait. I cannot wait to talk about this next week so we actually have the full picture and then we can give predictions. Don't go anywhere because, unfortunately, next we have to talk about the boys who are struggling yet again.
I mean, we don't have to. We can skip that.
Oh, no, we got to.
Dang it.
We got to. I'll try and keep calmer this time, though.
No, you won't.
Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the main event. Ryan Baldwin, Mason Shepard, still here, still talking sports.
Where else would we be, Ryan?
No, there's nowhere I'd rather be on a Wednesday, Mason.
I appreciate that.
And unfortunately, it is that time of the program where we have to talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
The downward spiral has quickly picked up pace. They ruined everybody's Thanksgivings on Thursday.
Yeah.
By dropping a game to the Las Vegas Raiders, who had lost 3 straight, had the 29th ranked run defense, and we still couldn't figure it out. And I don't even know where to point the finger first on this one. I'll be honest. I
don't think you. I think it's just an all around thing. You can't just be like, well, you just pointed at everybody at this point. It's ugh.
The defense, I thought, was not terrible for most of the game.
Yeah.
Dak looked really good.
Yeah.
And looked really bad. And McCarthy still just makes my head hurt. Like we said last week, this is the Raiders and the Saints are a team where if you let them come in and are not prepared to play, they'll beat you.
Yes.
And they did. You did not come ready. You got, by the way, Anthony Brown has now been permanently exposed.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Anthony Brown, he can't cover his nose with a tissue. He can't cover a wound with a Band-Aid.
He'd been decent, but once the Raiders were like, okay, Deshaun Jackson, which, by the way, Deshaun Jackson has got to be like top 5 Cowboy killer.
Oh, without a doubt.
He has been haunting us for years.
Seeing him, no, it's funny. I forgot he got picked up by Oakland.
I had PTSD watching him play.
So when I saw someone flying down the sidelines with a football in their hand about to score for Oakland, and they said, "Oh, that's Deshaun Jackson," I said, "Oh God, not him."
He has got
Philadelphia,
he without a doubt,
Washington. He is
now the Raiders.
He's a Cowboy killer for sure because he enjoys it. He relishes in that. I will say this, one of the more underrated receivers in the league, in my opinion.
Anthony Brown, basically teams.
I didn't know why they kept. I did not know why they kept Anthony Brown on him. I would have put Diggs on him. In my opinion.
At that point, because basically what it came down to was Jackson would just beat him off the ball, and Brown would have to hold him.
Yes,
because he was too fast, and that's how you get 4 PIs. Which, by the way, one of them. Sure. Brown grabbed the back of the jersey a little bit, but immediately, the ball wasn't even close, and Jackson just threw up his hands, looked around. The ball ended up 3 yards behind him. He never even looked to make a catch. If the defender has to turn around and make a catch to try and make a play on the ball, the receiver should at least have to try and make a play on the ball.
I agree with
PI.
I will 100%
because they called
agree
PI
with that.
and he wasn't even looking for the ball, just looking around
I will agree with you on that because if for a ball to be, and I think that would be better if for it to be deemed catchable, the receiver has to be able to try to make a play on it.
Yeah, he didn't even try. He didn't even look for the ball.
But they just go with, is the ball in his catch radius vicinity?
So
and it's just
a franchise record, 166 yards in penalties.
Yeah, we are the most penalized team in the league.
And that is coaching.
Oh, yeah, that's 100% coaching. Lack of discipline.
And since we're talking about coaching and penalties, glad we segued that into that nicely. Let's hear what McCarthy had to say about the penalties at the end of last week's game.
About the number of big plays given up by your defense today and also the big pass interference calls. Put all that together.
Well, the big plays, that was obviously a part of their offense approach. Has been particularly in a number of situations. They're effective with it today. 28 penalties. I don't know what the hell you want me to say. So right what you want, I'm all for it.
Okay.
Please tell me that was a joke and that wasn't our coach.
That is the weakest response I have ever heard from a coach about that.
Yeah.
Those penalties are coaching problems. And the fact that you just said, I don't know what you want me to say. Well, figure it out. You're the coach. This is what you get paid to do.
Like, if you have to go cookie cutter and say, well, we'll fix it. Even if you have to do that. But don't say, you write whatever you want. I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah.
It's just like.
So as the great Shannon Sharp says when I watch him in the morning, you either coach it or you condone it.
Yeah.
So they're either coaching penalties or they're allowing it to be okay. Like, at some point after the third PI, you're going to go, okay, Brown cannot cover Deshaun Jackson,
We're
right?
moving. See, this is what, because I've been seeing it on the sidelines. Mike McCarthy is a plump Jason Garrett. I'm sorry. He's a plump Jason Garrett. Because Dallas will come off the field, they'll go 3 and out, and he's just over there clapping. I'm having flashbacks because I'm having nightmares about it. Seeing Ginger Snap over there just clapping his hands, and it's bothering me.
And by the way, how do you not challenge? So just recap the play.
Oh yeah,
it's a pass. I don't remember. Maybe it was Waller made the catch.
Waller
took what looked to be like a third step. Looked like he tucked the ball away and was turning upfield. And I don't remember who exactly knocked it out, but they punched it out. The ball bounces through the sideline. And one of the plays of the year, by the way, was Kearse jumping in.
That was Neal.
Jumping in,
Keon Neal.
throwing the ball behind him while he's in the air to keep it in bounds for a fumble recovery that turned into a touchdown. And they ruled it an incomplete pass. How do you not, even if you, throw the challenge flag there? First of all, I know you aren't using all your timeouts. You showed us that you're not going to use all your timeouts.
Yeah.
So losing a timeout ain't going to be a big deal for you. But it's a momentum swinging play.
It really is. I didn't think too much of it, but looking back on it, McCarthy, I think what we underestimate. Now I'm giving him a little bit more credit, than he deserves, but I think when the booth is just telling you, no, just let this one go. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have coach's fortitude and be like, I think I'm going to do this anyway. But I think he was just really listening to the people in the booth.
I think the great coaches are ones that can read a game and be like, you know what? Maybe you're saying no, but it looks close enough that if we make them look at it, maybe we get it.
Well, see, we had that Jimmy Johnson, but Jerry ran him off because Jimmy wasn't going to, be a puppet for him.
And even Nance and Romo were like, yeah, that sure looks like a fumble to us.
Yeah, but
on the broadcast.
That's the thing. I don't know how much Romo's, he's showing a lot of talent behind the booth, but when he was playing, if ignorance is bliss, Tony Romo's ecstatic. But I'm just saying.
Here's the thing. Again, what do you lose if you miss the challenge? Nothing, because it was an incomplete pass. You lose the timeout, and the timeout, which from what I recall, didn't end up mattering anyway towards the end of the first half.
Yeah.
So you lose a timeout that didn't end up mattering. If you get it, that's an entirely game-changing play that you score an extra 7 on.
Yeah.
And then I believe they went down and scored a field goal on that one, I think. So it's a 10-point swing.
Yeah.
That's at least worth throwing the flag for, in my opinion. At least make them look at it. Because, again, you lose nothing if they end up staying with the ruling on the field. You don't lose anything from it. I can't figure out why we are having such a hard time figuring this one out.
Honestly, I don't even think the Oakland game is something you figure out. I just think what it comes down to is Dallas played sloppy. There was no discipline on really either side of the ball, and they left the door open for Oakland to win. Dallas once again was playing not to lose. This was classic Cowboys, playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
And obviously there's some kind of disconnect going on because Jerry Jones said after the game that the plan was for Pollard to touch the ball 25 times in the game plan. He got nowhere near 25 touches.
No.
He rushed 10 times and had 4 catches. This is the 29th ranked rushing defense, and you ran the ball 20 times total with Dak Prescott getting 1 carry out of the 20. Zeke had 9 for 25. Tony Pollard had 10 for 36. Against the 29th ranked rushing defense. I'm going to say it again. Dak is, since entering the league, undefeated when they rush more than pass. This year, he's 0-4 when you don't get 100 yards rushing. The stats don't lie. We are a running football team with one of the best 1-2 combos in football with Elliott and Pollard. Probably, I would put him at number 2, only being behind Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in Cleveland.
Yeah.
They are a top 2 duo when it comes to running the football.
I mean, they are, yeah.
And there was no point in that game, again, where I thought the game was so out of hand, except for maybe the fourth quarter. But there's no point where I thought the game was so out of hand that you did not need to run the football.
Yeah, I definitely felt like they could have run the ball more, and they should have.
Especially when you have no Cooper, no
who I also blame
CD.
for these losses. I blame Amari Cooper for
no
this too.
Cooper, no CD, so you don't have your 2 best receivers. So why are you throwing the ball 47 times?
Yeah, I think it's, I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to build on-field chemistry with Dak and Noah Brown and some of these lower guys, and it's just not the right place to do stuff like that. And I will say this, just because Noah Brown or Cedric Wilson are able, or more so Noah Brown, because he had some drops and Cedric did too, just because they're able to demolish your corners in practice does not mean they're going to do it to everybody else's.
Yeah.
And I think Dallas, and this is going to sound real stupid because if you know football, you know that doesn't mean anything, but I think Dallas, they try to take what they've done in practice and apply it in a game setting as far as, oh, okay, well, they've been able to beat our corners. Yeah, one of your corners is Anthony Brown. I don't feel like it's hard for anybody to beat him. So, yeah, I definitely feel like they should have run the ball more. I hate that Jerry knew that they were supposed to run it 25 times. I wish he'd stay out of it.
Yes, because you know what? I have a quote from him for the Saints game as well. And you know what he said? He said, hold on, where is it?
What did he say? My name is Jerry Jones, like nobody knew that?
McCarthy has hinted that the Cowboys might rest Ezekiel Elliott with the star running back having increasing difficulty getting around on an injured right knee. But owner/general manager Jerry Jones said on his radio show he expected Elliott to, quote-unquote, have a serious load against New Orleans. So what is it? Because obviously that serious load that Pollard was supposed to have against the Raiders didn't happen. Now we don't even know if Elliott is even going to play, but you're saying he's going to have a serious load against New Orleans.
Now do you see why I want Jerry Jones to be quiet nowadays?
Yeah, I agree with you. He needs to get a general manager and just sit back and write the checks.
Even if the
because
general
he's really
manager
good at writing the checks.
No, he really is. Even if the general manager is his kid, I don't care. But Jerry's got too much power. And like I said, this radio show nonsense. And it's just, in my opinion, people don't think this matters. It does. It's messing the team's chemistry up.
Yeah.
When you've got Jerry like, oh, Zeke is going to have a heavy load. And then.
Because, by the way, McCarthy might have said that with full intention of playing Zeke anyway. This is the kind of gamesmanship that happens in the NFL.
Yes.
Because if you don't know if he's going to play, you still have to game plan as if he's going to play.
This is exactly, I wish, and I knew they weren't going to do it again, but do you remember when I said I love when Dallas did with Minnesota? They didn't let them know that it was going to be Cooper Rush, and then it turned out to be Cooper, and we won anyway.
Yep.
Ever since then, Jerry's been running his mouth, and Dallas has been leaking stuff. I wish they would go back to moving in silence. And more so, Jerry, I wish he would live in silence. I wish he would be one of those owners that doesn't like talking. Because he's got this stupid radio show, and he just sits up there and tells people, yeah, Zeke is going to have a heavy load because that sounds good. And I think one of the things that bothers me is that you don't give teams a chance to be prepared to shut down Tony Pollard and I think that's one of the reasons probably why I'm not saying, they shouldn't have done it anyway, but I think that's one of the reasons probably why that they decided to abort running it 25 times because Jerry had made it known, we're going to run it with Pollard at least with 25 carries. You don't give people that stuff to predict.
Well, it was after the game.
Well, I know, but still, you don't give people that because now if Zeke doesn't play, that's something teams can expect. So it still carries on down the line.
Yeah.
You don't give people that. And I think because Mike McCarthy, he just doesn't have the fortitude to stick up and just run the team. If we took his fortitude and just bowled it towards a drinking straw, it would look like a kernel of corn going into a storm drain at this point. He has none. He's standing there clapping, not being good with the clock, and he's just letting Jerry do all the talking. I wish, but it'll never happen again. I wish we could get someone like a Jimmy Johnson, where it's like, this is my team. I'm going to run it. You can tell me what to say. I may say it. I may not. You never know. Like, he's still respectful to Jerry, but he's not going to follow behind Jerry and do everything Jerry tells him to do. As far as, well, you need to do this for the play calling. Jerry, stay in the booth. This is my team. I wish we could get somebody like that. And I honestly thought that was going to be McCarthy, seeing as he's won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers.
No,
but
the more I watch, the more it's clear that
Aaron,
he was absolutely
Aaron.
carried to a Super Bowl by Aaron Rodgers and that stout Green Bay defense. And he
That
had
is true.
very little to do with it.
No,
Very
I agree
little.
with you on that. Now that I'm seeing this is a mess.
So enough about last week, because
Yeah, please.
next week, okay, I'm going to go out. I'm going to say this.
Okay,
And I
I
want you to agree with me or disagree with me. I want you to tell me why. Okay?
All right.
This game determines the rest of your season. If you go and you lose to a Saints team with Taysom Hill as the quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
they probably have Alvin Kamara back, definitely have Ingram back, and you're down players and you're down your coach. This would make it 3 straight losses, 4 out of the last 5. Then you go away to Washington, who's played really well.
Oh, yeah, Washington and Philly are starting to win games.
Then you go away to the Giants,
Yes.
and then home against Washington.
Yes. And then we have Arizona after that, I think.
Yes, and then the Eagles away.
Yeah.
So 3 of your remaining divisional games are away. If you lose this game, the Eagles are playing the Jets.
Yes.
They should win.
Yes.
And Washington's playing the Raiders.
We'll see how that shapes up.
If Washington plays the way they have been, they're like the hottest team in football, so they should win. You could theoretically go into this next week with a 1-game divisional lead
Yeah.
if you lose and these other teams win.
No, I agree.
And
I agree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you at all. This is the game that decides.
Because this either gets you back on track,
Or it just shows
or
that we're
implodes
about
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
implodes. Yes. No, I agree. This is the game where Dallas has to prove themselves.
and honestly, you're lucky that you went 6-1 somehow,
Oh yeah.
because that's the only reason you have a game lead.
Yeah.
and that the other teams were playing like garbage to start. Because you look at the Rams, who have lost 3 of their last 4.
Yeah.
They're no longer leading the division. They're like 2 games down now
Yeah.
after losing 3 out of 4, because that division's actually competitive.
Yeah, because it's Seattle, the Rams, the 49ers, and the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, yeah. So I don't know. I am, like I said last week, you're not going to hear me getting all, Cowboys to the Super Bowl, because they have not earned that.
No, they have not.
And
no.
now I'm looking at it going like, there's every chance, because would be the ultimate Cowboys thing to do, would be to start off 6-1.
Start off hot, 6-1.
And then you just completely implode when on paper you are one of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
On paper.
Really, in the NFL, we were the highest scoring team.
Yes. And, you're the highest scoring team in the NFL, and you can't get a 2-point conversion from the 1-yard line? Oh, boy. I saw that trick play, and I was like...
I saw it, too. I knew it was going nowhere.
I knew it.
Well, because
You
Zeke tossed it like 10 yards back.
But you have you love the jumbo set here with that lineman as a fullback.
Yeah.
You love that set. It's on the 1. You're telling me that Zeke or Pollard, or you can't QB sneak it for a yard? You can't hand
it's
it
more
off
so they should have QB sneaked it.
I bet I could hand that off to, who's it, Martin? I bet I could hand that off to Martin at the fullback, and Martin could just plow into the line and move it enough with his bulk for a yard.
Yeah.
The Cowboys left a missed extra point,
Yes.
a missed 2-point conversion,
Yes.
a holding call that turned a touchdown into a field goal, and I know I
Yes.
said enough about last week, but they left like 7 points on the board and then went into overtime.
Yeah.
And now you're going into a Saints team, which, by the way, the Cowboys against Peyton at the Dome, 1-3 since Peyton took over in the Dome.
It's not a good record.
This is a rivalry that Saints fans love.
Oh, tell me
The
about
rest of their season could go down the tubes. They could not make the playoffs, but this is their Super Bowl this year.
it. Yeah,
with Jameis Winston out.
for some reason, Saints fans love to play Dallas and beat Dallas.
And I lived in Baton Rouge for a year, and that's basically they're basically Saints fans because they don't have their own pro thing. And let me tell you that apart from LSU games, Cowboys Saints is a marquee matchup for them. Everybody in Louisiana that's a Saints fan.
I have friends from Louisiana and that support the Saints. Yeah, I know.
So this is if there's one game that the Saints are going to show up for, it's going to be this one. And you're going into the Dome. You got to come prepared, otherwise you're done again. And
I really want Dallas to come out with some fire, but we'll see.
We'll see. I'm looking at this.
This is the game that decides our season, though.
This is it. This is where you figure out whether you're going far or you're going home.
Yeah.
Because you could even squeak into the wild card if you don't win your division. But if you don't, you're probably playing Green Bay.
Yeah.
Or the Cardinals.
No, that's the thing. If you're going to the wild card, you are playing some of the best teams.
Yeah.
So no.
Yeah, you're playing either Green Bay, the Cardinals, the Bucks, possibly the Rams.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think it'll probably be the Rams.
But yeah. So if you don't win your division, your job gets exponentially harder. And I'm looking at this going, there's every chance that having to play 3 divisional road games means you don't make it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Man, the Cowboys just make my head hurt sometimes. I said I was not going to be as upset as last time. And here I am talking about how the Cowboys are just, oh, gosh. And you know what? I'm actually happy that McCarthy's not has the COVID and he's not going to be there because I think that actually makes the team better.
We'll see.
He obviously doesn't know how to motivate them.
No, he does not.
He obviously doesn't know how to make in-game coaching decisions.
No, he does not.
So you just sit there on your Zoom calls, tell the team, okay, guys, let's go have a good game against the Saints. And you go sit down with a beer and watch how the Cowboys play without you. Because either they're going to play really badly, in which case you're going to have a job for a little bit longer, or if they win, I don't even see a reason to keep you. Stay home.
Well, no, Jerry likes a puppet.
Oh, my gosh. All right, enough Cowboys. I'm done.
Please. You're killing me.
It. All right. Back to the good stuff. So we're going back to our Mount Rushmore series. Coming up next, we're talking about the greatest receivers of all time.
In our opinion.
Don't go nowhere. Welcome back to the main event. Brian Baldwin, Mason Shepard.
You know the deal, folks.
Mount Rushmore time yet again. We've done quarterbacks. We've done running backs. Now we're moving on to the receivers. We'll slowly make our way through the roster. Maybe, I don't think long snappers will be as fun.
Not going to happen.
You don't want to do the Mount Rushmore of long snappers?
Not if you don't want to see the Mount Rushmore me falling asleep.
Oh, lame. All right. Well, do you want to lead or you want me to take over the honors?
The first things first. We're going to first say this at the same time. Jerry Rice. I want to go ahead and get this out of the way, then I'm gonna do mine because I know we're getting this out of the way.
Yes. So Mount Rushmore -1 because Jerry Rice is up there on both.
Because at this point, if you don't understand the greatness of Jerry Rice,
let's just explain for the people though. This man could not only catch, but his yak ability, yards after catch.
Oh yeah,
he was one of the best players in the game with the ball in his hands after making the catch.
But that's the thing. The funny thing about Jerry is Jerry was not at all. Jerry is not what we would call like a flash player. And what I mean by that is Jerry was not fast. It wasn't like he was slow, but his 40 time wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's like, no. Jerry Rice was like an average speed guy, but his hands. Jerry Rice, he used to catch bricks with his bare hands to practice. That's how you know Jerry Rice is number one on this mountain. When you can, and they weren't just like, oh, we're just going to toss brick. No, they were throwing them like footballs, and he was catching bricks with his bare hands. Jerry Rice is incredible, man. And I think what I love most about Jerry Rice, he's just so marketable, and he's just so personable, and he's just someone that He didn't get in a lot of trouble. He cared about the game of football. He wanted to be a champion first, a diva never. And I just think that Jerry Rice, man, God, what a legend. And he, in my opinion, he was the original possession receiver in that he was a receiver. It's like he'll get you a nice, he'll get you a nice yak. But that's a weird sentence. but when it comes down to who can catch the ball, you always bet on Jerry. So I'm glad we both have Jerry. Second one, we're gonna put another 49er on here. Terrell Owens, T.O. I know you're gonna complain.
Painful. I'm not gonna complain, but that's
T.O.
painful for me.
Brian, T.O. is third all time, and T.O. is top 5 in pretty much every record.
But he
You
disrespected the star, man.
Look, man, but he ended up wearing one on his helmet, so he looked like an idiot after that. But my point is, we can all talk about T.O.'s antics. We can all talk about him being a locker room cancer, whatever you want to call him. Terrell Owens loved the game of football, and he played it. He played in the Super Bowl on a broken leg, for one. 2, he was incredible. You want a hybrid athlete? It was Terrell Owens before the next person on my list, who I'll get to later. But Terrell Owens, he was, and I think his antics overshadowed his talent in a lot of people because he was very good. Like it wasn't until people stopped talking about his antics and looked at the numbers and like, oh, he's third all time in receiving yards. He's, I think, top 5 in receptions. He has these stats. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame now.
Yep.
He has the stats for it, and he played the game well. How he conducted himself, that's always subject to criticism, but Terrell Owens is definitely on this list. My third, and this is a very special one to me, my cousin, Detroit Lions Hall of Fame wide receiver, Megatron Calvin Johnson. When you want to talk about a hybrid athlete, this man was 6'5", 232 pounds, had a vertical out of the gym, ran as fast as the eye could possibly imagine, and hands like catcher's mitts. Dropped nothing. It was rare. He was just a freak athlete, and this is the thing. Now, I know people would be like, why is he on the Mount Rushmore? He never won anything. You put him on a team with a Rodgers or a Brady or a Manning. Really doesn't matter which Manning, but preferably Peyton. You put
Archie
him on,
even
Archie. He would have turned the Aints into well, no, they would have still been the Aints. But anyway, you'd put Calvin Johnson on a team with a suitable quarterback, and you tell me he's not a Super Bowl champion right now. He was phenomenal. You couldn't cover the guy. You had to put 3 people on him. You had to put 4 on him. And even then, he still may catch it over you. Calvin Johnson was just an incredible player. I wish he could have played longer, but, to see him dominate and break some of Jerry's records, actually. I think he broke Jerry's records for receptions. So, and even receiving yards. So I think Calvin Johnson definitely deserves to be on this list because he was Megatron. He was a freak. And again, he was another guy, wasn't a diva, just played the game, wanted to win. Unfortunately, he was on Detroit, and they were not going to let him go anytime soon. But what a freak athlete. And fourth, I had a little bit of trouble with. I'm bringing up 2 people because I'm going to tell you who I'm debating. As far as longevity and playing at a consistent, high level, I've got Larry Fitz because Larry Fitzgerald is very, very, very consistent. He's played for a long time and
currently not playing.
But look how long it has taken him to get to this point.
And he's not technically retired, so he could come out and play.
So he could come back. He's kept his body in great shape, not a diva. You throw anything his way, he can catch it. He's tough. He's resilient. Great possession receiver. Larry Fitzgerald, definitely. But I was torn because another person I would love to put on this list is the playmaker, of course, Michael Irvin. It's Michael Irvin. And I think when you look at the dynamic of the Cowboys and the big 3, Michael Irvin was always there, and Michael Irvin was the playmaker for a reason. He could take something that was for no gain, and then next thing you know, there's a touchdown, because that was Michael. And I think, again, the same thing with T.O. If you take away the antics, Michael Irvin was just, phenomenal. And I think Michael Irvin, he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. And every guy that I think Larry Fitzgerald would be in the Hall of Fame. So that's my list. Now I'm gonna go ahead and guess. Randy Moss is on your list. Is Chris Carter on your list?
No.
Okay.
But Randy Moss.
Mm-hmm.
So again, my criteria for the Hall of Fame or for the Mount Rushmore is these guys needed to change the game. When you have your own type of catch named after you, and it's now a thing, because you got mossed is a thing.
You got
now.
mossed. Yo, that's a very much a thing. He should really patent that.
His stats were amazing. This man could beat you in every which way, but generally the deep ball. And he made a career out of making defenders look silly. He would catch it behind you, on top of you, left, right, center, and then there'd be times where he just beat you and you were 5 yards behind him.
Yeah.
And so Randy Moss had fantastic stats as well. I don't remember the stats off the top of my head, but it was there was a couple of them that I was looking at as well, like Calvin Johnson, because he kind of also popularized that receiver where you just threw it up to him like a back shoulder in the end zone or something like that.
Yeah.
Just let him go get it. And yeah, so there's a couple people I was debating there, but Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, and then I'm going way, way back in the time machine for this next one.
Oh, boy.
Way, way back to the 1930s.
Oh, God.
Mr. Donald Montgomery Hudson for the Green Bay Packers.
I hate when you do.
This man, why? Look, this guy is credited with creating most of the modern pass routes that are run by the NFL today.
That's interesting.
And he was the first 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL ever.
Yeah.
In a time where it was basically rushing as well. So
this
is not like 1,000 yards today where it's like, oh, yeah, cool, that's a good season. No,
that was like...
This was, everybody runs it, but this guy is also going to be 1,000-yard receiver.
Gotcha.
And he created a lot of the modern pass routes to use in the NFL today.
Gotcha.
So he's kind of credited as the first modern receiver. He kind of played split end, but also would move out and play receiver. So... You gotta put in terms of players that changed the game, he's up there.
Yeah,
for sure.
What did you say his name was?
Donald Montgomery Hudson.
Wow.
Back in the 1930s when he played for the Green Bay Packers.
Wow.
And then now this one, there's absolutely zero chance you're guessing this one. But this guy.
Okay, we got to make this into a game here, folks. Is he old or new?
Is 2000s.
2000s, okay.
So newer.
What? I can't, because that would give it away. Okay, what conference?
AFC.
AFC, okay.
I'll give you three guesses.
Oh, okay. AFC, 2000s. Is it Reggie?
Nope.
Marvin?
Nope.
Oh,
What are you?
crap! You said it. Dang it. Oh, man.
Good guesses, though.
No, because I'm trying to think. 2000s. We talking about like 2000s or 2010s or
late 2000s to early 2010s.
Oh man. God. I'm lost. Hit me.
The man that turned the slot receiver into a speedy little guy and made it popular, Wes Welker. The man. So we
Wes
see
Welker.
this. We see this a lot now, where the slot receiver is not necessarily the biggest guy.
No,
he's not necessarily the most straight up strength and big guy, but he is speedy.
Yeah,
and he knows how to find the holes in coverage. And we see this with, Amendola came after him. Cole Beasley came after him. All these guys that are shorter playing the slot. Wes Welker was that first.
Yeah, and
he won. I mean, he won a bunch of Super Bowls with the Patriots.
Yeah.
And Belichick really knew how to make that work, and he had Tom Brady to throw it to him. But
then he found performance-enhancing drugs. But yeah, I mean, he did. You can't negate that, Ryan.
I can't. But he did popularize.
But he did, yes. Wes Welker was. I'm surprised I didn't get that.
The smaller, because it was also kind of the thing, too, where, I mean, usually the slot receivers before would just kind of be a bigger guy that would run like a 5-yard stop. And he would, kind of box out.
Stop and go.
Yeah. But these guys, he could do drags across the middle, had no fear, even though he was like 5'8".
Yeah,
5'9".
Wes Welker was very fearless, and he didn't talk much either.
No, but he was speedy, had a 4.65 40, which is pretty good. But he really popularized that kind of slot receiver that we see a lot today.
Yeah.
As opposed to just kind of a big dude that can't nearly run as fast. So
I like that.
I-
Besides the Don Hudson, which I didn't know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it wasn't a good pick because it was, but I'm just saying, as far as people I know, Wes Welker, yeah, that was I mean, with receivers, folks, there's so many like
there's so many great ones, man.
No, they
Gale
really
Sayers
are.
is another one that I was thinking about.
Yes, there. Another one I was thinking about besides Randy, his partner in crime, Chris Carter. Chris Carter was really good. Chris Carter had amazing hands. You know, when we get into more of a modern age,
I mean, we didn't even pick Marvin Harrison.
no, that's what I'm saying. Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. I'm saying there were a lot of great receivers,
Yep.
and I think you know, in some of the modern time who are up for Hall of Fame inductions, and we'll get in later. Andre Johnson was great. Now, folks, this will tell me that you watched football in the early 2000s if you can remember this wide receiver. He played for Kansas City, Dwayne Bowe. Anybody remember?
I did not watch the AFC when I was that young.
Dwayne Bowe was really good, but yet you said Marvin and Reggie. Well, I said Reggie, but yet you brought up Marvin. But no, Dwayne Bowe was good. I don't think he'll get in, but he was a good wide receiver to watch. Yeah. And I'm trying to think. When I was talking to my dad, he had mentioned Torrey Holt.
Yep.
So just really good wide receivers. And Hines Ward,
yeah.
Steve Smith is actually up to be in the Hall of. There's just so
many. And you got
many
players now that are like surefire, like Hall of Famers, right?
Yes.
Like, I bet by the time Evans and Godwin are done, at least one of them will be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Evans got
Tampa
himself
Bay.
a Super Bowl win.
Yeah,
He'll
so
be in it.
They've already put that one. And there's some guys you're looking at right now, like Devontae Adams from the Packers, going like, oh yeah, he's easily DeAndre Hopkins. He's gonna be.
He was so underrated for so long.
Hopkins. Well, that's because he was on the Texans.
Well, yeah, he was on the Texans. And then you had Julio in Atlanta and Antonio Brown.
Oh yeah,
and
Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, all these guys.
Julio, Antonio
good.
Brown, all these guys. It's insane.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the main events. Big shout out, big thank you to both Dan Ball and Mark Lambert for letting us use the green studio here at KNTU deep in the heart of Denton, Texas. We will have one more episode next week, and then we will break for the winter.
Yep.
And go our separate ways. But don't worry, we'll be back in January after that. So, one more show next week. Looking forward to it. Y'all have a wonderful day.